Do YouTube. This is for the kids. Judge Napolitano. There's a Judge Napolitano judging Freedom YouTube channel. But since before he was left Fox News, there are intelligence families are recorded. They recorded themselves, actually, both next to but they started it. In other words, in the ways they recorded themselves. In other words, next to Fox Connecticut News, and with digital crimes of Weathersfield police that have faked me conversations with me as a kid and I was an adult, as their roles with Weathersfield Police Department with that. Fake conversations with me there that weren't at all as a kid and I was an adult too. And different people that did it when I was a kid and an adult, but they've had ties to them since they were kids with organized crime acts and then putting fake things in databases as people that don't even know each other and see each other around campuses. They made a couple quick exceptions with Eric Mendez. Real quick, it's not even an exception. I don't know him. I only know that he was pretending other. Increasingly, people tied to all along Route 3 have roles with a bunch of families at New Britain Superior Court, Hartford Courts, and the Connecticut's District Court, and with conjunctions to the state judicial branch offices. The same names with the corrections offices have roles with Facebook, with the police, with a whole bunch of people through years at Weathersfield campuses involved with different child abusers, leaders of kids, intercities that had that time collusion/S roles with them and with locations associated with that, including religious spots and names next to it, and roles with that as methods where they use differences, rackets, and fake motivations for how and why they're making and to change why and how they have roles changing and faking what other people say, including digitally. Whiting Forensics has a Joshua Julian on Facebook page of a principal upskirt nature involved with them with judges and prosecutors and a Bob Chase with a Phil Collo involved with violence on my street and confessions of their roles with people tied to him too. They make confessions to other people. I never had a verbal conversation with a Phil Collo in my life. I never responded to him. One time when they try to make a fake exception, he's been planting evidences with people on my area through time. I don't know where he lives. And in other words, and that he lied about he planted evidences behind my back to my family with my neighbors, involved further with their extended family members with the World Trade Center attack in Manhattan, with people named Scalora, also with the police forms intercity switching and forging names, and a guy who said he was who they said was the roommate of a Ray Collo, one of the Ray Collos involved with comments on YouTube with a Joshua Julian and others who are also on. Joshua Julian was on the Facebook page of the principal child abuser. He was one of the ones that used to force that and other abuses of kids at that school was more involved then and now with the other schools. And I still haven't got a response for his confessions and what I recorded them doing. And I didn't even get to tell them what I recorded because they didn't even let me speak so they could make a whole bunch of confessions and demonstration and call it back to make it look like there was communications between that. Because then they put fake transcripts on a mass scale. Increasingly, the Britain Superior Court has rules with sexual and medical offenders of kids intercities and with the FBI and with Whiting Forensics and state police and how Central Connecticut State University trains them. They have a whole bunch of military all along Route 175 involved with a little phenomenon where they have people fight and make it look like their sides or ties, natures of ties to people. It has something to do with two people. I don't know. I never heard their name by anyone else. In other words, I researched this. There are two people with the name O'Connor, and the DeMoro family brought it up. And they're one of the people brought up by the people that have been planting evidences with a Joe Aiello and with former mayors on the sides of and at parks, intercities, including next to between UPS and Hartford Hospital, with mayors involved. They said with the name, and their group. They have roles with the group. They're not. In other words, with the intelligence community. More on just please do what's right and get them on paper. You're only criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions, rot, repeating fake things in the background with abuse, police, and interbranch switching and forging names. No, identity theft, fraud, slanders roles. You guys also have roles with the Sal Civil per the intelligence confessions tied to you and per how they make confessions to the breaching method too, per why and how it's manifest that we could discern their confessions to us. They have these people pretending they have like these people that say they were gangsters uh, real, and then they have the ones with the rapping. Even if they're real or what that is, involve pretending to be against terrorists and fentanyl. That's collusion slash S with the criminal enterprises there and next to there, and with sexual and medical offenders putting fake things in databases. Increasingly, a Judge Smith has roles of people who planting evidences will overt criminal enterprises, private ones, not legitimately with foreign and domestic military, next to the campuses I went. Get these Ray Claw on paper with the police. That fake conversation with me at the police station when I was a kid, and now, and Ray Claw did go down there apparently for them, and for Chris Walters, who also gave affidavits. They made him put fake ties, fake natures of ties to me. I had nothing to do with them. They tried to make fake exception in the campus. I didn't really communicate with him in the campus. They put it in the car. He didn't even go to my school. They put him in the car with my neighbor and planted evidences. He's increasingly been doing that, Ray Claw, through the years. This recorded practically the only time I know him playing roles with it. So in other words, I had roles with the World Trade Center attack. And these are also rules with a crime method that does things to test what people are going to tell their parents or not when they have things with other kids. You know how many kids there are? If you start playing that, so they wait, and then they say, well, what are they going to tell? Then their sensitivity, they're going to stop telling people things about the kids they already told on, the other kids. The difference of that is exploited by the fake identities of integrity with the investigators of all natures. They even have investigators with the Department of Children and Families involved with sexual circles, with a Gary Sasso and people that run the prisons and people that train the prisons, including as ones involved with Sandy Hook campuses, involved with intelligence families next to Central Connecticut State University and the town over next to it that way. And as ones next to the corrections offices in Wethersfield, Connecticut, Harper, Connecticut, line there. And as ones involved there, too, with the state judicial branch offices, with all kinds of predicate acts with facts methods, serious evil crime methods, and natures of collusions with all natures of crime scenes, right? And how they speak about America's difference fake and burning it out, making it not be great again, because they're changing and faking our founders' communications to us. James Madison's plan, his principle. That's where they had to counter-extort George Washington too. You guys won't be allowed that. You guys won't allow the honesty about that and why and how they had to counter the rest of the colonists and the Native Americans. You guys won't be allowed. You guys have to be honest about that. We're supposed to get the Constitution unabridged. We're supposed to explain how our founders did not have free speech. They declassified this. So in other words, you guys are just saying and making things up and getting away with it because of the predicate acts in the databases. That's why they won't get on paper legitimately into branch. They've been doing this on a mass scale. They do things like forge and switch names. What's recorded shows that they've been using all natures of investigators in all kinds of criminal ways, including putting fake transcripts in databases and through the news to cover things up tied to that. The Wethersfield police pretended they had conversations with me through the news and through as a kid, now as an adult too, and refusing to get on paper with a legitimate police report, where they also confessed that roles with them making falsified police reports with arrays of different people involved. And Bob Chase confessed Phil Collo also involved with that. He's also involved with some Latino theme screaming out a girl's name, who's increasingly involved with some judges tied to a daring and people from East Hartford, Connecticut, who recorded intercities with the Intelligence Act and next to the sides of Central Connecticut State University through time. As one's note, from there all the way along Route 175 through Newington and all the way to Old Weathersfield locations. There are a whole bunch of people like tied to that, a bunch of ways. Ones with the name Dennis, all tied to what? Mayors too. Former Mayor Gold with the foreign and domestic military too. And their family members with Whiting Forensics increasingly involved with mayors and people tied to them, involved with criminal enterprises and sexual and medical offenders, has timed collusions with families from Institute of Living on the campus of Harvard Hospital, forging transcripts with a whole bunch of people tied to the same house slash S, involved with all these crimes of the Weathersfield police refusing to get on paper and to identify themselves legitimately. But no, also with confessions, right where and how pretending other recorded. We're going to pay attention to this because these are some sick identities of the names of the people, the sciences, so, and that have been stayed to stay. The difference of their collusion or the overt criminal enterprise terrorists. When did witch trials stop being about how slavery was involved trenched simultaneously, sickly, non-distinctly, north and south? That's what slavery is about. That's what witch trials are about. There was a human factor nature breaching method entrenched. It's about torture, extortion, and slavery. You guys are playing games with the law because the breaching method showed them they have to cover up what it had them use remotely to do as collusions with. You're going to watch what I caught Sandy Hook doing with kids, with the principal name, with a campus, a prison campus there, involved with a whole bunch of people, intercities, with medical corruption, with the campuses, fake things, fake ties, fake natures of ties between kids, fake motivations for how and why they make fake exceptions to people knowing each other. They're changing and faking what everyone communicates. And they're making self-value roles right where no one self-values it. Black people. Get these cowards done. So you have a bunch of fake people. When it comes down to it, they switch names and forge names into branch. They have remote uses. They have foreign and domestic internet police families involved with all kinds of natures of organized crime and dishonesty while pretending other. Ever see how they start? But they qualified before they start speaking to Congress. They're not capable of countering things or handling things like John F. Kennedy's assassination. They can't even handle the book depository, the rackets with the books there, and the principles of thought and reason. Here, get them on paper, one name in sequence. Here, Anthony. Boxings, I teach those things. Boxings in circle, all shapes gain, or else we sense. All trade. It's next in dance. In other words, here Romulus. Here Republic's name again. The campuses. Pantheism. Pantheism is a science to see through isms. Peer is to be and to stay led by that which is true always, does not leave out the finite details. Black peoples, let alone the grouped in all together simultaneous, because that's what we use to be and stay led by the hyper simultaneous, which is the thing. I'll show you that with the English grammar, how it was revealed to be taught. Boxing is fought, but by the rules. And there is one way to fight. Raw. Win. Begin. Who disbelieves? Who disbelieves?